This is Ryan Schimpf. He played less than a full season's worth of games in a 3-year span. He was an average fielder and average base runner by most metrics. He was arguably ahead of his time, a player that thrived in the power department and drew walks with great efficiency, but also struck out basically more than any other player in the league and didn't make enough contact to hit above the Mendoza line. To put it bluntly, Ryan Schimpf's career is insignificant. So why did I prep an entire video about him today? Well, it's actually quite simple. Ryan Schimpf's numbers in clutch situations are not only incredibly impressive, but they are among the best in baseball history. With a few clicks, you can slice and dice the numbers to put him in a class with Hank Aaron, Barry Bonds, Shohei Ohtani, and so much more. I am not kidding. Let me give you some context first. In 2015, 6 years after getting drafted in the 5th round by the Blue Jays, Ryan Schimpf was cut before ever taking his first MLB at-bat. He had reached AAA after posting torrid numbers at the level below, but he had failed to adjust in a productive way for 2 straight years. At 28 years old, this could have been the end of an unremarkable story, but he ended up falling into the welcoming arms of the San Diego Padres minor league system. Schimpf got an opportunity at regular playing time and exploded for the El Paso Chihuahuas. 2 things. 1, this might be the best minor league team name out there. If you disagree, leave a comment down below. And 2, this team was managed by Rod Barajas, because why wouldn't it be? Everything's connected. I foolish. The team was spearheaded by pillars of the future in the Padres' number 1 and number 3 prospects, outfielder Manuel Margot and outfielder Hunter Renfroe, both top 100 prospects at the time. But both managed to get completely outshined by this random 28-year-old journeyman infielder, with Schimpf posting an absurd OPS over 1100 and 15 home runs in 51 games. He naturally got promoted to the big leagues in mid-June, joining a sputtering roster that was 14 games under 500 and well on their way to a 94-loss season. This Padres squad was a year removed from going quote-unquote all in and acquiring Justin Upton, Matt Kemp, James Shields, and others. Now, in 2016, the team was already rapidly deconstructing the roster in damage control, meaning the Padres were becoming a land of opportunity. Now, it certainly wasn't smooth sailing for Ryan Schimpf at the get-go. He went just 3 for 29 through his first 13 games played in June. He did smack a double for his first major league hit against the Miami Marlins, and hey look, it's my buddy Ryan Cohen, who probably loves the Padres more than any other human being on planet Earth, and also coincidentally has more tweets about Ryan Schimpf than any other human being on planet Earth. If you ever thought this guy was a fair weather fan, just look at these tweets. But with the team going nowhere, the infielder got extra playing time despite his struggles, and in July, Ryan Schimpf made his presence known. It started simply enough with Schimpf connecting for his first home run on July 1st against Nathan Eovaldi and the Yankees. A few days later, he hit his second home run. The next day, he hit 2 more. In the first week of July, Schimpf smacked 8 hits, and 7 of them were for extra bases. He closed July with 21 hits, and 15 of them were extra base hits. 9 of those 15 were home runs, for an absurd .705 slugging percentage. Best of all, he was doing it as a second baseman. Ryan Schimpf kind of became the Dan Uggla of Joey Gallo's, if you know what I mean. Unsurprisingly, the upstart first-year player was named National League Rookie of the Month for his efforts. He slowed to end the year, but still finished his first year with an impressive 132 OPS plus and 20 home runs. His 869 OPS was a top 20 mark in the National League, ahead of the likes of established hitters like Brandon Belt and Christian Yelich. What most people remember about Schimpf's brief time in MLB is how much he embodied the 3 true outcome style of hitting. For those who don't know, this style of offense involves hitting home runs, drawing walks, and striking out. Names that come to mind include players like Joey Gallo and Adam Dunn, guys who routinely strike out over 200 times in a season, slug well above league average, and draw walks with good efficiency to manage a good OPS. It's not exactly a fun or traditional style of hitting to watch as a spectator, but it's effective in some cases. In 2016, Schimpf had just 60 hits and 330 plate appearances, enough for him to barely hit over the Mendoza line at 217. Of those 60 hits, 20 of them were home runs, and 42 of them were extra base hits. That means that exactly 70% of his hits on the year were for extra bases. No other player in baseball history has had 70% of their hits as extra base hits in at least 200 plate appearances in a season. The only player that even comes close to this absurd slugging output is arguably the greatest hitter of all time, Barry Bonds. In 2016, he became only the 6th 20 home run hitter to have more home runs than singles. The other 5 are 2001 Barry Bonds, who we just talked about, and 4 different Mark McGwire seasons. Schimpf walked, struck out, or homered in 50.6% of his plate appearances in 2016. 2016, a number that was actually higher than the career mark of Adam Dunn, a guy who was essentially a trailblazer for this style of hitting. But Ryan Schimpf is not 2001 Barry Bonds or prime Mark McGwire, so how did this happen? His swing path was perfectly carved out for fly balls. He had a 29.7-degree launch angle, and that was 5 ticks higher than any other hitter in baseball in 2016. In the years since Schimpf has fallen out of the game, only one other hitter has even eclipsed 28 degrees on average over a full season, and that was Adam Duvall last year. Schimpf wasn't here to hit singles, he was here to hit absolute nukes, and you better believe it was a conscious effort. Actually, I can't say that with certainty, because in 2016, in an interview, Ryan Schimpf said that he never actually tries to hit home runs, it just kind of happens. You know, just like I never actually try to strike out in blitzball, it just kind of happens. But the inconsistency became too much for the Padres, who demoted Schimpf back to AAA in early June. This would not only conclude his Padres tenure, but his major league days in general, with a brief stint on the Angels being his last hurrah in 2018. The extreme nature of his 3 true outcome hitting is what drew the attention to Ryan Schimpf, but it's also what undid his career in the end. But today's video is less about that and more about a split he dominated in not only this season, but every game of his shockingly brief tenure in MLB. In the current state of baseball, a league average OPS, or on-base percentage plus slugging percentage, is considered to be around the 750 mark. If you're an elite hitter, that number climbs to around the 900 area. If you're one of the best in the game, it can eclipse the 1000 mark, a range where players like Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, and Shohei Ohtani currently reside in 2024. Now, this is in reference to a full season sample, but the same logic applies for smaller samples and splits as well, especially in a split as important as runners in scoring position. Since the beginning of the expansion era, all the way back in 1961, there have been around 110 different seasons where a player managed an OPS of 1200 or better in at least 50 plate appearances with runners in scoring position. And there's plenty of duplicates on this list as well, like Barry Bonds doing so 8 times or Mark McGwire and Albert Pujols both accomplishing it 5 times. It's a lot of the names and quantities you'd expect if you're familiar with baseball history. Now let's go ahead and add 100 ticks to that OPS, making it 1300. The list is now trimmed from 110 different seasons to just 36. Okay, let's go ahead and add another 100 ticks, making it a 1400 OPS. This list is skimmed down even further, decreasing from 36 individual seasons to just 10. But that's not enough for me. Let's add 100 more points, bringing our metric to 1500 on the OPS. On this list resides just 2 men. Barry Bonds is one. He did this 3 different times, posting an on-base percentage of 650 or better in all 3. In 2004 specifically, he walked 111 times in these scenarios. There's one other player in baseball history in the last 60 years with a 1500 OPS in this split, and his name is Ryan Schimpf. I shit you not. We need to break down this data because it is unbelievable. In 2016, Schimpf collected 17 hits in 49 at-bats with runners in scoring position. 13 of the 17 were extra base hits, 10 of them being home runs, good for a slugging clip over 1,000, making that the only such season in baseball history with the plate appearance qualifier. Even Barry Bonds couldn't manage that. He walked more times than he struck out in this situation, leading him to an on-base percentage mark over 500. What's just as crazy in the other way is Schimpf's 678 OPS with the bases empty, making it a near 1,000-point difference between these situations. With no run-scoring opportunity, Ryan Schimpf was essentially Charlie Culberson. With runners in scoring position, he was better than Barry Bonds. You can make a compelling argument that this is one of the most clutch seasons in baseball history, and it happened for a 94-loss team that almost no one cared about, except for my buddy Ryan Cohen.
Padres!
For his career, Schimpf managed a 1.234 OPS with runners in scoring position and over 100 plate appearances, one of only 19 players ever to accomplish that. The list of names here is absolutely ridiculous. Next to all of those names in the same company is Ryan Schimpf.
Hello, it's me in a different room to tell you about today's sponsor, which is Big League Chew. We've all been there. We've all played Little League. We've all had a pack of this wonderful product in our hands at some point. And now, John Boy Media, We Got Ice, and myself, we're partnering with Big League Chew to send somebody to the Little League World Series. That's right. Go to johnboymedia.com/BLC right now, purchase a pack of Big League Chew, and you'll be automatically entered into our sweepstakes. Plus, the more you buy, say if you buy an entire box of Big League Chew like I got right here, the higher your chances will be because every pack purchased is another entry into the sweepstakes. Plus, you get some awesome chewing gum too, so it's a win-win for everybody involved. Enter today, who knows, you might be the lucky winner, and thank you to Big League Chew for sponsoring today's video.
Now, before some commenters rain on my parade of incredibly weird stats involving this guy, I want to say not every opportunity with runners in scoring position is in a clutch scenario. You can be up 10-0 in the 6th inning of a throwaway game between two teams who are out of it and still get a chance in this exact context. Ryan Schimpf was certainly producing runs batted in at an all-time rate in these instances, but it doesn't inherently make him one of the clutchest performers ever. Other quote-unquote clutch statistics skew the narrative even further. His WPA, or win probability added, was 1.96 in 2016, which wasn't even among the best marks in that year, let alone all of baseball history. However, I won't count this too much against Schimpf because this metric is also subject to team performance. The Padres' team ERA of 4.44 ranked in the bottom 10 of baseball, and so did their 686 runs scored. They weren't exactly playing in a ton of close games, especially later in the season when they were all but written off. There's also the leverage index, which measures the importance of a particular batting event at any given instance. Ryan Schimpf did have a 979 OPS in high leverage situations in 2016. However, unlike his runners in scoring position numbers, it's not among the greatest of all time. It's just a really good mark. But again, Ryan Schimpf didn't get a ton of these opportunities in the first place. In a lot of these discussions, the performance of the 2016 Padres sadly holds back their second baseman just a little bit. So was Ryan Schimpf quietly one of the clutchest hitters in baseball history? It's hard to say. I like to think that with a larger sample size and a more competitive team, we could more boldly make this claim, but the objective truth of the situation is that Schimpf is nothing more than one of the biggest anomalies in baseball history, which is still amazing in its own right. Usually players who produce in run scoring opportunities to the level in which he did stick around a lot longer in baseball, and it's insanely rare to see a player with a career OPS 15% better than league average only last 2 years in the league. In fact, excluding currently active players, he's one of only 4 players to have a mark this high with a career sample size this low. His career numbers for this reason will always appear a bit abnormal, but then again, it's pretty clear at this point that nothing is normal about the career of Ryan Schimpf. I want to leave you with one more bit here. In 2016, he hit 20 home runs, but he actually came close to adding one more to that total on the final day of the season. He wrapped a go-ahead home run in the 9th inning of what could have been the Padres' 69th win of the year on the final day of the season, but the ball went just foul. Schimpf ended up getting out, and the Diamondbacks, the opposing team, won 3-2 for their 69th win of the season. A failed clutch moment, right? Well, not exactly. That win placed Arizona ahead of San Diego on that year's standings, giving them the 7th pick in the draft instead of the 3rd pick that the Padres received. The D-backs drafted Pavin Smith, and the Padres drafted lefty Mackenzie Gore, who famously became the centerpiece in the Juan Soto trade. In a world where Schimpf's fly ball goes fair instead of foul, the Padres win that game and those picks are swapped, which means they never draft Mackenzie Gore, which means they maybe never trade for Juan Soto, which means they maybe never make the NLCS in 2022, which means they maybe never acquire Dylan Cease with the pieces they got for Juan Soto, which means they never get the no-hitter that they just threw a couple weeks ago. What does this all mean? It means that even when Ryan Schimpf was unclutch, he was still clutch. Anyways, that'll do it for this video. A bit of a detour from my usual content, but if you enjoyed it, leave a like on the video and consider subscribing to the channel. I'll see you guys next time.